Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to your Friday morning edition of Second Breakfast. Woohoo! Weekend's here. I don't know about you guys, but I am looking forward to it. I got a bunch of stuff coming in the mail today. More stuff to clutter up my desk, of course, but a few things have been cleared off my desk, so that's kind of a good thing. I'm not sure what else to do with this guy. I mean, I thought about painting these like a brighter brass color, but I'm like, it doesn't quite fit. I could do the kind of 1 in 10 brick sort of tan, but I'm going to kind of do that here on the ground. But I just don't like the way it looks when you do that really super like odd colored stone every once in a while in something like this. This looks like, wow, that was loud. Uh, some sort of regal estate, and it just, I don't know. Maybe you lighten up the bars here and here, the railing, and that maybe do that brass, but I don't know. Otherwise, I'm kind of call it done. Um, but it's a nice little piece to display a couple of minis here, maybe one here, maybe you know uh, make a little scene, but. Uh, I'm more focused on this guy. It's starting to look really, really good. Um, I think I'm almost getting the inside to glow the way I want it to, and I'm toying with the idea of covering the whole thing with a really light coat of glow in the dark paint. But I know that's gonna kind of diminish what I've already done, so I don't know. It is supposed to be neon paint in there, but for the most part, I like it for sort of a plague dungeon or some such. Somewhere where there's going to be a lot of green energy. Just and then the pillars, they're looking pretty spiffy as well. I really like the way they're turning out. But I'm not sure if I'm going to order another set. I kind of think I probably should, just so I have at least four of the larger ones, and then that would give me six of the medium-sized ones, and then one more broken one, so I could go full, 4 and 8, two in between each pillar of the mediums. Maybe sort of make like a doorways with these into the plague temple. Just got out of the shower, so my hair is still kind of wet. So how's everybody doing out there? You guys ready for the weekend? What's going on? I've got kind of a busy weekend, a lot of shopping trips and things like that. Hey, what's up? Mandatory you play Castle Rat when you use that set piece. Okay, I don't know what the hell that is, but I could definitely see it being, like a were rat or a Skaven lair, or Nurgle if you want to keep going in the GW fashion. But I also like the idea of it being some sort of either mad scientist or like a mummy that's it's woken up for some reason, or a lich. And there's some other really cool pieces that they have. Scatterterrain.com, and I'm going to go through the whole thing again. It's funny. I went to their website and I put a bunch of stuff in my cart, and I got this email from them saying, "Hey, oh, it's a band. Oh, okay. Oh, you play Castle. I gotcha. I'm sorry, dude. Um, Still kind of waking up. I stayed up a little too late last night. Been trying to get to bed before midnight, and I was up till 1:30. Not really. There's really no point in that at my age, other than to have some peace and quiet, which I kind of already do. Jackie's busy doing his thing. Chain bikini wearing lead singer. Okay. Is she a redhead? Because they don't do anything for me. Um, and yeah, just I stayed up way too late, goofing off. But I got some more. I've got about 20 new Reaper minis coming in two different packages. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, a bunch of them had no bases, and I've gotten into the habit of absolutely, I need these round bases, even though some minis don't quite need them. A little spoiled or a little set in my ways, so I had to order a bunch of them. And then uh, for the John Carter, like 54 millimeter four armed Martians, they didn't come with. Oh, damn. Yes, she is. They didn't come with any bases whatsoever. And while I have a crap ton of Archon Studios uh, bases, I don't really like using them for metal minis. They just don't have the same footprint. So I had to order some like 45 millimeter bases. You'll send me a live performance. Okay. I mean, I've dated a couple of redheads. It's not entirely about looks, but you know, I, I'm still a guy. What am I supposed to do, right? We likes what we like. As a matter of fact, one of them was absolutely amazing. The other one turned out to be just kind of eh. So, what are you up to, Bubba? How's the grandkids treating you? They wrecking the place yet, or are you still in the phase where they can't really wreck too much? You got to wait till they're like in their twos and threes and fours. That's when they really can wreck the place. And then, of course, their teenage years, which lucky that hasn't happened yet. Let's see, what can we get off the table this morning? I think Mr. Troll here, he needs to get hurry up and done. Again, he needs a base as well, though, but I'm not going to use one. Let's see. Will he fit on a small base? No, he will not. So, what am I going to do with you, you big ugly bastard? Well, let's start with the base, because the base is just glaring white, and he's clearly not a snow troll. It is a very 70s throwback modern band. Just have six of them today. Maybe another one. Another at one. Holy crap, dude. I don't even like it when there's six people in my house, let alone six grandkids. Um, that's I don't know how even what words to use for that. That's something. They're just gonna say. But one of these days, maybe I'll get lucky and I'll get just one grandkid. Chewy, I'm going to beat you within an inch of your life if you don't shut up. It's not the mailman, so it can't be important. I just made my first attempt at red dressing today for my sandwich tonight. Red dressing? You mean ketchup? No? I'm being facetious. I've never heard of that. I am going to have to close this door because he just doesn't get the hint. Give me a little better than that. I saw a recipe, if you will, on making potato chips without a crap ton of oil in your microwave, your oven, or your air fryer. Air fryer seems kind of dumb because I can make like what 8 potato chips at a time. Oven will be the way to go when it's not 4,000 degrees already in the kitchen. But we'll see. I'll give it a try. Worst comes to worst, lesson learned, as it were. But I do like the idea of being able to eat those again without the chemicals, the preservatives, the other shit that goes along with that. I do miss them. They're literally my favorite food. And not just because I've told myself I can't have them. I don't know, something about them has always just been just up there for me. It's terribly unhealthy and what have you. But growing up, there were many times where I would be like home from school and like sick or something. What is up, Cal? It's called Big Red. Okay, like using the soft drink because I've seen like uh, barbecue sauce. No, it was a spaghetti sauce that actually used Pepsi. I think it was. Ready for Sunday's game? I hope. There, Cal. I don't know if you saw the review of the DMG for Dungeon Dwellers. Uh, really nicely done. I'm just looking for something a little bit more gonzo, a little bit more high powered. I've played all the Mud Sword games. Like almost every game I've ever been in. The DM is like you know afraid of magic items and afraid his game is going to break. Stayed home today. Your shoulder has a pinched nerve. Uh, Ouch. That sucks. I find that when that happens, the best thing for me, because it's always in my hip, is to do some walking. But with the shoulder or an arm, I don't know. You watch it later on. Okay, cool. I don't know if you can do shit like this if that'll help or just make it worse. Also, uh, gabapentin clears that shit up for me like right away. I don't know what's in it, but I hear it's not good for you. But I'll take the prescribed amount of that, and in hours I'm back to normal. Because you guys have seen me when I like I can't get up out of my chair because it feels like my it literally feels like my spine, uh, and my hip bone and my spine are like disconnecting. It like literally feels like that, like they're no longer. But at the same time, on unimaginable excruciating pain, at least for this cat. Adding bikini chainmail to my game. You female tunes may add charisma bonus to armor class. Right out of Black Pudding, I'm guessing. Good books. I'm glad Bear recommended them to me, and I absolutely dig them. But I couldn't run. I don't think I could run Labyrinth Lord. I think it is just a little bit too silly. I mean, maybe if a bunch of people said, "Hey, let's do this," like for like with OGGM's game. It's every 2 weeks we get really silly, but at the same time, we are, um, still we still got that gamer thing going on in the background because we're playtesting one of his games. Yeah, too often. Yeah, mine. It's been maybe 6 months or so, and hasn't come back, but it will. It does that every once every 6 9 months to a year. But yeah, I got to get some stuff off my desk because I've got a bunch of big packages coming soon. I wish one of them was Shadows of Brimstone. I know it's not. It's over 2 years. Well, it's a year late. It was supposed to be out last year, July. Um, but no. But yet, Archon Studios can do the whole freaking whole equally massive Kickstarter a year every time. Maybe a couple of months extra, but it's a year and they're done. And there's so many cool things in the new Shadows of Brimstone Kickstarter that I just cannot wait to get a hold of. The whole um, Egyptian Atlantis theme meets the Mummy meets you know uh, Deadlands kind of theme going on with the new Kickstarter, as well as the Hell Train. So I have a bunch of cowboys and bandits on horses, which is kind of cool. Weird thing I was thinking about the other day. That's all I've been doing with hobby area is neatening up the piles. Yeah, I gotta invest in some more dedicated miniature cases for some of my more delicate things. Um, because I've been trying to do it on the cheap with certain things, not worrying if they get a little banged around because they're plastic. But there's some things here that are resin, and some things that are just like the metal that I don't want banging around because they're likely to get more damaged and bent and things like that. But back in the day when I was buying and selling the old metal minis, nobody, nobody wanted anything on a horse. Anything that was, mounted, it was considered like crap um, for whatever reason. Even like that, you guys might remember that really famous, I don't know if it was an elf, but it was a female paladin in full plate. I mean, and it was decked out gorgeously, like perfect 25 millimeter scale on a horse. She had like a shield with a heart and either a cup or a sword on the shield, and the horse's armor was freaking awesome. You can't give those away now. Just any 25 millimeter mounted minis, just nobody wants them. I'll try to base more of the big hat dwarves today. Cool, cool. I'm also kind of looking forward to the old Dusk Hollow. Oh man, with you know with all the Vampire Wars stuff that I'm getting ready for September, all the vampires, Van Helsing, Sherlock Holmes, and all that gothic shit. Kind of why I got this too, to have a little some scatter terrain. Maybe that's the entrance to a haunted house or something. Um, I really wish Dusk Hollow was the one I was expecting and not Port Haven. 'Cause I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with all those pirates and sea monsters and the ships and the docks and all that stuff. It's probably going to sit in the boxes that they came in um, for a good long while until I get in the mood for that, especially those ships. Because they're like, you know, over 2 feet long, almost 2+ feet high, cloth sails, I think, or am I wrong? Just amazing looking ships. I hope if they're like the airship, I'm gonna be pissed because that is like from a distance it looks fantastic. When you put minis on it, it's freaking retarded. The railing, on the outside of the ship, it barely, and this is without the bases on your miniatures. It would barely come up to your knees. It's like literally useless. And the cannons that are on it and mounted, you would literally have to fire the cannons from like a cross-legged sitting position on the deck of the ship because they're so low to the ground, but on the floor, just like, ugh. And I've got an extra one of those. I'm giving it away because it's just, like I said, from a distance, or maybe use a different scale, I guess. Maybe for 25, it would be pretty good. I didn't think about that, but it's just, it looks so cool from a distance. I'm looking at it right now. It's like, that looks freaking cool. But then I know that it's kind of lame. More primer. I've been getting really lucky the last couple of weeks. All my primer jobs came out great, just like, but I'm like being really, really light on the touch and the distance and things like that because that I had an issue with the sand splatter effect last month, and well, I found a solution, which is IPA and a toothbrush or a Q-tip, not a toothbrush, a paintbrush or a Q-tip, and you can kind of uh, rub that out, yeah, or rub it off the model, brushing toward the base, and it'll still leave a primer, maybe even a pretty good thin layer, but it'll get rid of all that sand, which is just like I I've ruined miniatures trying to fix that issue before. Um, by throwing them in the Sonic cleaner and then having to leave them in too long that they became pitted and just unusable. I That's how I found North Star because it was a group of four cowgirls and they got ruined. And I threw them in the Sonic cleaner and it wouldn't come clean, wouldn't come clean. When they finally came clean, every surface was pitted. It looked like they'd literally been through a sandblaster. And I'm like, God damn it, I'm never going to find these miniatures. I don't know who the company is. I type in cowgirls and I'm going to find freaking, 10,000 different. But no, I got really lucky. I found one of them on eBay and it said the name of the company. I went to the company. They had them in stock. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing I know, I'm buying all kinds of stuff from North Star. But so, what do you guys got going on this weekend? I know Cal, you're going to be in my game Sunday. Other games going on? Um, I'm making hamburgers tonight because it is Friday, but we decided to go back to homemade because we were spending like $300 a month fast food just doing the Friday thing. Just Friday, um, hamburgers for four people, fries, sometimes drinks, maybe sometimes an extra, uh, side of chicken or something like that. But it was like it was 55 bucks, you know, or more for the four of us. So back to cooking them at home. I'm gonna miss my bacon guacamole burger, but I'm just not. I'd rather put that money on the table, or put it in my bank, or get that Lodge Sportsman's Grill, things like that. I cut out roughly two. What is it? $100? You said I cut out 2 Fridays of going to a restaurant, and it'll pay for itself. Where did you get that? Nope. One on Monday. I've been gardening and helping my older sister go through our parents' stuff. Yeah, that's got to be rough. I'm trying to make it yourself. What, the burgers or the freaking grill? I'm not making the grill myself. I look like a blacksmith to you. Um, but yeah, definitely homemade the way to go. It's just you know, except for the bacon guacamole burger, which I could probably make one at home. I don't know what the sauce is, and the bread. And the bread's actually kind of crappy. I've noticed lately that restaurants are like, I think what they're doing is because their sales are lower, they're not going through the bread fast as they used to, and so the bread's not as fresh. And when the bread's not as fresh, it it absorbs every ounce of moisture from the tomato, the lettuce, etc. And I freaking absolutely freaking hate when the bun turns to mush. You know what I mean? So it's imperative that I get my burgers home from whatever restaurant, like ASAP, because you're paying for all that. The wife's like, oh, it's no big deal, whatever. It's like, no, I'm literally paying the exorbitant price so that it's hot right then and there. I mean, technically, you should be eating at the restaurant or in your car. That's why you're doing fast food, but she don't get it. But maybe I should have her make some freaking guacamole for me. It doesn't last though. That's the fucked up part about it. It like 30 minutes after you've made it, it already starts changing color and texture. So you got to eat that shit fast. Maybe I'll have her make some of that teriyaki. She actually made a teriyaki sauce. It's the best I've ever had because it was like homemade with honey and not high fructose corn syrup and other bullshit. Because it's just garlic, honey, soy sauce, and I think that's it. And heavy on the honey, right? Oh, I fucking love that shit. Teriyaki burger. Oh, slice of pineapple. You guys are all going like, ew, gross. Who puts pineapple on a hamburger? This guy. Um, freaking absolutely love it. So I also got this little group of they're called familiars, but like one's a gingerbread man holding his head and in one hand and a sword in the other. The other one's a little werewolf, like holding a pumpkin like a baby werewolf. This little goth looking winged angel chick, and a little goblin girl leaning over a pumpkin. It's kind of cute. And then this little baby miniature rat. I mean, it's like a little tiny baby Skaven with a cloak that just absolutely screams out to be red. And then this little bitty ghost that the face is kind of jacked up on, so I'm gonna have to scratch it back into uh, existence. I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but it said familiars on it, and it came with this guy. I'm so glad I won the slot because there was a lot of 10 blister packs of Reaper. I think one or two of them were pumpkins, pumpkins and jack o' lanterns. One of them was these little hordling guys. Just I really like this one for some reason. Just all yeah, see his face. It's all teeth. That was one pack. This was one pack, kind of lame. A fireball. It's like really, but it also had the troll. I showed you guys. It had three pumpkin horrors, which that one looks more snowman than pumpkin, but they are pumpkins or jack o' lantern horrors. This one's a little more pumpkiny with a kind of like a high top fade. Another one, but just a bunch of crap that will go great in a pumpkin patch or something very Halloween ish for my vampire my gothic horror vampire wars skirmish games. I'm going to try and run with me and the boy, and if not, I'll just do a bunch of pictures with scenery. And what else did it come with? Something else really cool. Let's see. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Oh. That's right, because I haven't even primered them. These two guys, these things are just freaking. I don't even know why I haven't primered them. Oh, yeah, because I want to base them first. These two brain things are so. The faces are so Mars attacks, but. Oh, shit. Almost hit the power button. That would have been hysterical. Oh, but no, I bent the shit out of that arm. That's not good. Um, but these tentacle brain guys, um, they were separate packs, but they're all metal. They're kind of cool. Um, but just a whole bunch of like perfectly themed for what I got coming in the future. So it's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. Something else. Well, you get my drift. They're all Reaper. They're all Reaper minis, and it was like coupled with a mini I'm getting in the next lot, which is a scarecrow, a really cool looking scarecrow. It's all Halloween sort of themed, and I'm trying to think of little battles that they can engage in places and locations, and I'm like, graveyard. That's cool. I think I'm no. Scattertrain.com has got a really nice uh, mini graveyard set that's got the actual tombstones, which is what I need instead of making them. But it's got a bunch of other things. Even though I've got the Sigmarite mausoleum set that I'm going to put together, which I've been hanging on to for like 3 or 4 years, just maybe even more. But just been sitting in a box. Um, I mean, I could put it on eBay right now and get 250, but I'm like, yeah, fuck it. I'm going to build it, and build like a massive uh, cemetery so that I can, do the obvious, Van Helsing and his men against, the Count and some crazy minions. I've got some vampires coming today, even though I've got enough vampires to last. I could probably make a whole vampire counts army if I wanted to. And do you guys remember that old Heritage miniature? It was kind of a big deal because it was a vampire holding a nude woman, and that mini used to, because that's the closest some nerds ever got to a naked lady, was like crazy expensive and sought after by whatever, um, and part of the Dungeon Dwellers line. It was it was tastefully done. For 25 millimeters, you can't really see too much, but it was part of a vampire set that had that. It had a blue Dracula, and then a Morticia looking vampire woman. You know the one I'm talking about, right? Well, Reaper did one like almost identical. I mean, very little difference. But I noticed when seeing that they did a really nice homage to like most of the Dungeon Dwellers line of heritage miniatures. The classic wizard doing the fireball, the henchman with the spear and the lantern, the dual henchman with the I think maybe that might have been Grenadier, the dual henchman carrying a treasure chest. I love that miniature. That's like every DM should have that mini in their collection. And a bunch of others. I also noticed in the Dungeon Dwellers DM guide there was an image. I don't know who did it. It wasn't great, but I could see that they were literally like as many poses of miniatures from the Dungeon Dwellers line were in that image. I was like, that's cool. They really did, or must have the same kind of appreciation for that line of miniatures because back in the day there was Grenadier and Raw Partha just didn't capture the DMG, the Monster Manual, and the Player's Handbook like it did, or like Heritage did. All their minis looked right out of the DMG. Their goblins are, as far as I'm concerned, the best goblins of all time. Their hobgoblins, like chef's kiss, and they only made two different hobgoblins, both with pole arms, but one with kind of like a spear, and well, supposedly there's a third one, and I think it's just a miscast. But there's a third one with a more like a halberd, but in very simplified samurai or Japanese looking armor, and they're just top notch. The bugbears to this day, I still, there are scarier looking bugbears and maybe cooler looking bugbears, but none of them capture the art style of the Monster Manual. Um, and a lot of people was like, "That's not really a great thing. Everybody's done it better." Yeah, considering how much money they were able to pay for art in every other edition afterwards, and how much more prolific the art was of from fantasy thanks to Dungeons and Dragons. But prior to it, they had nothing. They couldn't go get clip art. They had to find little doodles and sketches wherever they could, and pay complete unknowns at the time in the art world to come up with these black and white line drawings. And Heritage said, "Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do exactly that, and you'll love it." And for a good part of the end of the 70s, 78, 9, 80 through 81, they were the closest. Everything that came after it was kind of closer to 2E way of thinking than that sort of uh, adherence or you know appreciation of that old art style. It's funny. Somebody, I don't know if it was him or not. I think it was, but someone reached out to me about Michael Thomas and classic miniatures, just like, telling me like, no, there's a guy out there that does, you know, the original Heritage minis, blah blah blah. But part of his name was Thomas. So I'm like, is that you, Mike? Are you like shilling finally for your stuff? Because I've been offering to, you know, show off his stuff and discount codes and all kinds of crap to do that. And he's like, no, 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 I just side business, man. I don't have the time, blah blah blah. And then I'm like, I'll have to reach out to him this weekend and see what he's up to and if he wants a bunch of business or maybe it's supposed to be on the hush hush and I shouldn't be talking about it, but sue me, you know. At some point, all that stuff's going to disappear if we don't preserve it by taking the original molds and using them for something besides lead. Uh, every time I was looking for a mini uh, that I had sold and I couldn't find it, and so I had to go to my own collection, and I was dreading opening up those Chess X miniature cases because they're all lead. Everything in there is lead, and I'm like, I'm going to open this up, and it's just going to be dust, one day, because I had to pull one of my minis to fill a sale. Thankfully, I had two of them in there. It was an old Knights and Magic miniature, and like, you know what? I really need to like just sell all the lead and replace them with tin or pewter or whatever the hell it is, and start painting those damn things because once they've been replaced with tin or what have you, there's no reason to not paint them and enjoy the shit out of them. And obviously, never use them because they'll be in 25 millimeter scale, which, you know, between you, me, and the lamppost, I kind of wish they would have never gone to 28. It literally made everything before it kind of obsolete, except in the way of a few creatures and monsters and things like that. It's just like that 3 millimeters. It makes it, a huge difference in scaling when you're trying to stand them next to one another. They're just too small. They just look like children and babies, and maybe with the goblins and kobolds you can get away with it because they're supposed to be small anyways. But the dragons look like, they're like the size of horses. It's just like, I know Joe was talking about the dragons in his world. You might find a dragon that's only the size of a horse, but it will kick your ass because it's just armor class and hit points and things. And I'm like, it's not the same, man. I want my dragons to be, Godzilla-esque. Well, I have access to a ton of bronze. I've considered attempting minis. It won't work, but I want to see it not work. You know what? I actually have. It's either bronze or brass. Some mini. I've got a master of a miniature that um, of a miniature that I own the rights to. And one of a couple, and it was the weirdest thing too, guys. Um, this guy, he made some minis, and for whatever reason, I obviously not whatever reason, but I bought some, and I reached out to buy some more, and he had passed away, and I had like one of less than 10 of these minis, right? Actually, I had four out of the less than 10 that were ever created. Years down the road, I bought a pile of minis, and in it was the master sprue, everything for that one piece that's like kind of a big deal in a certain community. And so, but it was made out of brass. And I'm like, the odds of this are like more than millions to one that I would find that thing and have it and be able to go, okay, I want these in production. I want these a thing, and we still haven't done it. You think 25 and 28s work? Not when it comes to humans. They just you put a 25 mil human next to a unless they're female, and I guess, but you could do that because she's short. But no way I could control cooling or the tools for fine work. I just have to grind really, really carefully. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, if you've got the metal and you can make the masters in the other medium, have a mold made of it, which will ruin it. Then you could possibly melt it and pour it. I don't know unless it's got like such a high melting temperature that it will destroy the rubber or whatever the vulcanized whatever. I'm pretty sure it's rubber material of the mold itself. Is that what you mean? Or are you like trying to sculpt out of bronze? Because that's not how they did that. Look at people in real life, the difference in heights. Sure, but you take your your heroic barbarian in 25 and you put him next to everybody else, and he's like, you know, I don't know, he's a picked all of a sudden. I mean, some things will work, but like for example, ogres and stuff. I've got some of the heritage ogres, which are really nice ogres for the time. They're actually some of the better sculpts in the line, or the cyclops, and the cyclops ends up looking like a well defined ogre or immature hill giant, and the ogres end up looking like just fat humans. Yeah, that's why I absolutely will not have anything to do with Reaper White bones. They're just straight to the trash. I remember in old movies there were tough guys that were today there are tough guys that are short. One of the toughest, probably the deadliest guy I've ever met was shorter than me by 4 inches, and I with a fucking bazooka, I wouldn't think I could do shit to this guy. He was just, the baddest motherfucker you've ever met, um, and just no freaking way would I mess with that guy. Um, and mind you, I've been in my fair share of fights. It's not, shirt kings deserve respect too. I don't know what a short kings. Okay, it's like what's a shirt king? The guys who make Hawaiian shirts or something. Which reminds me, I should have broke out my Hawaiian shirts and given them all to the boy. He really sees it now. It's like, hey, yeah, he's already raided half my freaking wardrobe. I mean, it's only natural, right? You guys do that? I did that. When I got to a certain age, it's like, all right, Dad, I'm taking over. I need a shirt. Uh, Sir James of Blue, good morning. Did you mention to the Reaper guy that people are less than yes, I did all of that behind the scenes, and he gave me a place to pass that along. He has absolutely nothing to do with that. He's just a writer, but he's heard grumblings himself prior to us, and I will continue to extol the virtues of metal and shit all over the printed crap that came from Reaper, as well as the white bones. I mean, like two in a row. They're going to get one more strike, and that's it. People are just going to, forget they even exist. They keep that shit up. Um, Ed would be absolutely just appalled with what they've done. I don't know if he was around during uh, when the Reaper White came out. I don't know if that was part of his idea or if it came later. I don't really remember. I think he was still alive, and he, clearly learned from that mistake, or the rest of the company tried to make good with the Reaper Bones Black, but 3D print for the same price, just uh, James. In Australia, Hawaiian shirts are necessary for half the year. Rugged up like a ranger now, though. I mean, he isn't standing over the printer. No, he is not, James. Good to see you again. He yeah, he works in another state or lives in another state, and types away and did a fine job on preserving the Heritage Dungeon Dweller legacy when it comes to what we expect from a game. But the black 3D printed crap just too flimsy. Where in any other situation they would. I mean, if I'm painting somebody's cloak and it snaps off from the pressure of the paintbrush, you have made a grievous error. I do like how the Army painter dip hardens up PVC board game plastics. We'll have to see how it goes with resin. You mean like the old paint cans of Army painter soft tone or washes? I thought it was kind of the same thing, same formula, just in a bigger freaking container. I named my profile and changed my pick to the Reaper Mini Sir James the Blue. Nice, nice. Yeah, no, that's it's unacceptable. Absolutely no excuse for that, other than they don't care and fuck you. Just give us your money, and I can just I can survive off just collecting the remainder of the Reaper minis that I don't have that I do want in metal. It's basically just floor polish. Uh, it's funny. I was looking for some floor polish to make a wash. I just needed like a cap full, and I was ready and willing to buy the big old, you know, floor polish, which like nobody uses anymore that I know of. Because when I went to the stores, I couldn't find but like two different brands and two different bottles, and that was it. Remember, there used to be like a crap ton of, Mop and Glow and things like that, and no, just gone. And I had to find another way to make my wash. Yes, but it toughens up soft plastic as well as shading it. Definitely brush it on because it's so thick. Yeah, I remember back in the day, which just strikes me as kind of retarded. People would dip their miniature while it was affixed to a drill and then spin it off. And I'm like, you know, you're throwing away more on the walls and furniture of your painting domicile more than your. It's just, but yeah, the dips. I haven't seen them since, oh god, like the beginning of the channel. People used to talk about them a lot more, but I'm like, yeah, I'm not just dunking the whole mini in there. That just seems like no matter what you do, you're going to be wasting a lot of it. Uh, I have no problem doing a brush at a time. Several producers keep doing the 3D printed crap. You know, it's far too new to be able to have any idea how long it's going to last. Um, what's going to happen over time? Is it going to degrade? Is it going to flake off? Is it going to shed like uh, other things? Is it going to wilt and melt under its own weight? I can't have any of those things in my collection. It's bad enough that pewter and lead will do that. Um, Whiz Kids miniatures will do that. Even the best of them will do that over time. Um, and the time I've wasted on like some really nice paint jobs. That big giant Call of Cthulhu, Cthulhu, the big Reaper one. There's nothing you can do. He is eventually going to fall over under his own weight, and just slowly melt. I mean, it's like they're made out of something a little bit better than wax. If you leave your miniatures in your car, you know, and you go, like whatever, you're going, you know, uh, to a game and you put your miniature case in the trunk, it better be air conditioned because you're going to open it up and just have goo in your miniature cases. F that. I mean, we don't know. Um, with dunks, sometimes it's best to then subtract some with an old brush, yeah, right, or paper towel. Well, I'd rather, only put enough on the mini as I need. Like when I paint, I only put a couple of drops of paint in my palette at a time, and you know, waste not, want not, and just just use what I need and no more. Because even though I can get most of the stuff I use from Gnomish Bazaar, which is in my state, like if I ran out of something right now and I made an order right now, I might be lucky to get it Tuesday. That means Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I can't work on that. And if I'm in the mood and I'm like really, in the zone and painting up a storm and having a good old time, and then ran out of that paint because I didn't know I was running low, that can kill the whole vibe for a while, and I don't want that. Especially with like right now in this heat, it's so hard to paint without everything just drying up. I know I need to use a wet palette more often, but they don't really uh, seem to work out when I try to use my speed paints, which is kind of where I'm going. I love what I can do with them more than any other brand of paint of the Army Painter speed paints so far. Been my favorite. I know other people not fans. Um, for me, they do everything I want them to do, and sometimes they surprise me with new things I can do with them. I took your advice, James, and I started using. Here, I'll show you. Where is it? Airbrush thinner. When I was doing this, adding the airbrush thinner as a flow improver really helped me be able to get all those green lines in between the cracks without it staining the other areas. And even though I knew it might, it was just like it's fine. I'm just trying to do a glow effect, anyways. What's up, Vic? I should use my wet palette more. Yeah. I reorganized my paints. Don't really need anything. I have heaps of paint and ink. I have parts bins for metallics alone. Another that is just ivory white. Yeah, I know the feeling. I don't do them by color. I do them by brand. Um, I like the speed paint thinned as a wash. Uh, kind of what it's kind of like a pin wash for this piece, but I didn't mind if it got above the cracks. Um, and here it made it really nice to get those straight lines by just letting it run down instead of like trying to brush it. What's up, Chris? Thanks, Cal. I'm not sure what you guys are talking. If you're talking about the paint job, thanks. It's really easy. I literally painted the whole freaking thing in Tesseract Glow, which I need to get another bottle of. The whole thing in that. Then I dry brushed it ivory, and then I created a pin wash with. And I need to get another bottle of this Data System Glow Army Painter. It's not a speed paint. It's an effect paint. And then after that, excuse me, you can see better. Like here, you see this area here. I dry brushed it with this color, which is just neon yellow, not an effects paint, just a regular air. It's actually an air color. This neon yellow. um, right there. And I also did it. You can maybe see on this corner, these corners, these edges here, and all the straight lines. I just did, my edge highlighting with neon yellow, and um, I like it. It's spiffy. It's kind of goofy looking. I think. I wish I had time and patience to paint. Well, Vic, whenever you officially retire, if you're not already, uh, set aside. I mean, all you need is a 2x2 area with some space under for your feet. Just I mean, you could literally do it on a TV tray and get uh, like a little mini suitcase kind of thing, and just go just gonna do the thing. It's so relaxing. Last night I found myself up here working on that and working on the pumpkins and stuff, and uh, it's a great way to just chill out and decompress. I find I actually um, am enjoying it even without like any like external noises, no YouTube, no Netflix, no music, no nothing. Just sit and chill for like even just like a half hour. I'm like I can just feel like a whole bunch of stress leave my shoulders. Um, I made some Space Marines and NIDs I had lying around so my brother and I can have a random painting session one day. That sounds freaking awesome. I was getting bored of Dark Ages, guys. 200 to go. I know the feeling. It's either I write adventures or paint. Well, you can do both. I mean, you can, unless, it's a time thing, in which case, what's bringing you more enjoyment. That's really what, what's would be my advice. What's more important to you, writing or painting? I need to do some more writing, but everything is up in the air right now, and it's so hard uh, to get my table back, my area where I do type, without having distractions. Then right, come on, you want to do it, Arnold Predator accent. If you can't paint, I think the board game standard of rattle can, wash paint, the base is okay too. At 100 nights, you might just want to spray silver and drag blue black ink over it. Stress relief is sex and reading. Yeah, I suppose. But there's also a completely different kind. Uh, that doesn't let you decompress the way you think it does. Reading might do that, but the sex it actually creates a completely different kind of stress, um, and it doesn't really let your brain just like zone out. Just like completely just defrag your hard drive, as they say. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time here. Oh, I need to plug in. Just a second. Bruce gave me some info on a couple of. Oh, sorry, I missed these chats. Yeah, Sir James the Blue. Reorganizing your stuff is an amazing way to reconnect with your inventory, so you don't buy the same random pink 3 times. Uh, it's funny. That's like one color I almost never use. And the only time I use it is for monster tongues, right? That kind of thing. That's all I ever use it for. I used it on this little guy right here, this little Cthulhu guy, and then I gave it a pink, a purple or a red wash. Um, he's very miniature Cthulhu esque. I thought it was kind of, you know, you make for. I'm probably going to put the three of them on separate bases instead of one base. Uh, yeah, intrusive thoughts of the Crimean War in those intimate moments, or Rome. Um, Yeah, no, it's just you kind of have to pay attention. When you're painting, there are some things like dry brushing and washing and stuff like that where you can literally uh, not be in the driver's seat, just doing the thing, and your brain is like literally thinking about nothing. Thanks, Sir James. Uh, otherwise known as. Uh, I mix a bit into flesh depending on who it is. Yeah, I tend to um, stick with the flesh colors, thin them out, and do them in layers of depending on what I'm looking for. I tend to everybody tends to be like this girl right here. That you can see that's about the mocha I'm shooting for most of the time. But I do have like her. I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference. I went for pasty white girl pink. She's just like one summer vacation away from ballooning up to the girl we've all seen a million times. And then for you, Cal, we got a little of that dark chocolate that you like so much. Bow, bow, bow. Actually, no, actually, I went even lighter with Sleeping Beauty here. If you can see that, I think I did a really good job on that one. Trying to paint from memory, if you know what I'm saying. Reaper Scholar Flesh. I in Amity for base rims. I have a Zulu Warboard game. Uh, uh, me and Jackie were just talking about that the other day. The Zulus. I forget how and or why. And then I got this one right here, but it just did not turn out right. I'm going to hold it back because uh, I couldn't find that mini set that you were talking about, Vic. And I don't think I really need that many more. And if I was going to buy like more, I would go over to Bronze Age because there's a full harem, literally called a harem. And then there's also the old Raul Partha miniature set called Slave Auction. Yeah, that was a thing. Um, they could really get away with doing and saying things back in the 70s and 80s that people would just lose their shit over. But yet at the same time, it's funny if you go to places like Etsy and what's the other one, you can find some really not safe, not even safe for freaking your deepest darkest closet, because somebody finds that shit and they're just gonna burn everything you own. It's like, oh my god, I didn't even know him. Kind of just really kind of degenerate, filthy shit out there in the way of 3D prints. Uh, Always got to have a box of harlots. uh, So I have two potentially contentious questions and one very funny story, but they might be better offline. Uh, I mean, you're always welcome to, uh, you know, pose your questions. You had it as well. I still have bits and pieces of it just scattered throughout boxes. I was like, oh hey, that's yeah, I'm pretty sure my family was on both sides of that. Well, uh, I don't know where my dad's side of the family. I mean, because they didn't come here until the 40s. Like right after a big thing happened, trying to get away from other things, and so they weren't like really part of that because I don't think that was a big thing in Russia or Ukraine or Germany. But on the other side of the family, they didn't lean into it, but they had um, some people who didn't really have an option. But the funny thing is that after all that, there was a family that stayed for generations with my family, and I think the last of them passed away about 30 years ago, but she in the 20th century did all the same things, duties, activities, chores, if you will. Um, I don't know, man. Um, I didn't do it. Everyone is descended from slaves, cannibals, etc. Absolutely, absolutely. And the sooner we just, get over it and not trying to hold, people accountable for shit they didn't do to people that didn't have it done to, and you know the thing, guys. It's just dumb. People are just, it seems to me that everybody's looking for a free lunch. Even me, who doesn't like a free lunch every once in a while? But as we all know, tan staffel is a thing, and it's funny. Uh, one of my best friends of all time, Richard, wherever you are, uh, miss you, man. Um, I had a character named Tan Staffel. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And I'm like, what? He's like, there's no. And I'm like, oh my god, that's pretty good. And this was, mind you, this was like 1982 or 83. Uh, and flautas, steeplejacks, and cheese fanciers. Oh, those are even worse, right? Actually, no. Uh, I'm trying to get my family off the freaking uh, the crap Parmesan cheese. You guys all, and you guys made the switch to the real shit, or are you still using the Kraft green can of sawdust and stale milk? Um, because once I made that switch, I get a really nice glass jarred produced Parmesan that is real cheese. There's none of that cellulose in it. And I got the wife to, but nobody else will do it. They're like, no, just shake that crap on. Even after I told them, it's not really technically cheese. I was thinking about contentious question one, which begs another. How do you get away from reusing old world culture in games if you mix things and change them up? Is that okay? I will. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Good for you, James. Um, right off the bat, for me, what I do is I start from scratch. I got a brand new world. It's just pre creatures, just plants, maybe bugs and microbes and seaweeds and all that. Right? Just got a blank world, and then I start with the gods. The big god makes little gods. The little gods make humans, elves, dwarves, and that sort of thing. And then I think of how can I make their culture not go from like ancient Sumeria, into Europe, and find ways that I can make uh, the aesthetic looks to be different, and why those looks would what they would come from. Like in the cultures that dressed in robes and togas. They did that because it was easy to just make large, long strips of fabric and then just hang it on themselves. You know what I mean? Other places they didn't even need that much clothing because it was so blooming hot that it was just like, okay, cover the crotch and the nips, and we're good, which is weird. Because there's a lot of places that didn't even do that. But why that was such a big deal? I mean, other than not wanting them to get sunburnt, because if we've ever had those get sunburnt, you kind of wish you'd had some pasties or something. Um, I think I would like Dragonlance because even though it's cheesy, they try to at least change the style away from just medieval Europe. Dragonlance used too much railroad. Yeah, yeah. Well, think of like kind of like Blake Seven, how they just mixed it all up. You know, like you can start with like some of the basic necessities like clothing and food and architecture, and why they would build the way they did because it's for survival and to keep out the elements and to not die of the heat, the cold, the wind, the what have you, and find ways to kind of do that, because no matter what we do, because we're humans, we're going to be influenced by history and things we've seen. Uh, I would look at if you can find the manner in which people dressed in the earliest of times, and one of the big things that um, that makes civilizations do what they do is that they rise, but then they got that fall because of war, famine, disease, or something, or just migrating away because of lack of food and that sort of thing, and then they become another one. Well, if you start with one culture, say here, and just let it keep going, and don't like freaking oh well, this war happened or this event happened or ice age, and just let them go and see how they would progress. Like if you had a a culture that's been in the same place, and say that place is really really cold, right, and it's just like Alaska, right, or even worse, your stereotypical fantasy Viking heaven. It's just snow and ice always, and everybody loves it. Well, they're either going to uh, develop better winter gear, clothing that doesn't look just super primitive and stitched together, or they're going to get to the point where it doesn't bother them as much, and so they don't have to. They can do the kind of Conan thing, running around in a loincloth and a bear cloak, and like that's fine, which is completely retarded, but it looks good, in the comic books, and maybe see how like modern winter gear looks, and sort of find a way to make them meet halfway, so that they develop this look, and then those looks, style of clothing, etc., might inspire you to kind of develop their homes and their architecture similarly, where it's not clearly Roman or Greek or Eastern European architecture. I just want samurais versus huskarls. What's up, Dean? Uh, all of them. No matter how much I try, they're all hard to get away from. Um, I mean, even if you, I mean, hold on a second. I saw a cheese grater recently that was cylinder shaped. You put the cheese in, and it has a small crank on the end. I just crank it, and it all spills out nice and easy. That's cool. That's cool. I do have a cheese grater, but I find for when I want the really, really, really fine grates, little strings or whatever you want to call it, um, I can't get that on my own with the grater I have, so I got to find something new. Um, but I'm working on it because I also need a cheese slicer or vegetable slicer so I can make those potato chips. Um, no matter how hard I try, I can only think in ways of what I've seen before, in the way of like especially clothing. It's going to start with clothing, because before people create any architecture or anything else except cave paintings, how did they dress in the beginning when they were skinning animals and wearing them? Well, um, if they live in an area where they don't have to do that, where they can weave, like the elves and folks that live in more fertile valley kind of you know environments, they don't have to skin the animals. They can figure out that they can weave and create a fabric, and depending on what the plants are and what the fabric's made out of, you can think in ways of getting to past the robes and the togas and onto pants or whatnot. You still got to keep the ladies in the dresses, so robes and togas, of course. But or you can go like John Carter esque, which is you know, no matter how you slice it, it's very stylistic, highly fantasized Arabian Nights garb, right? Even for the men, they're just wearing what women wore. It's like, oh, I love the way the women looked in the Arabian Nights imagery. I'll just kind of transfer that over to kind of like the men. They kind of wear the same shit, just they don't have to cover up here. Um, and you'll find some. It looks like this always. I just thinking out tofu Vikings is underutilized, utilizing the cheese grater. Elves just sing the T-shirt song and the cotton weaves itself. Just do like Burroughs Morris stories and say everyone's nude. Um, it makes calculating armor class real easy, right? Um, but people wouldn't do that in an area that's freaking Arctic or a certain temperature. But in like Dark Sun, that's literally the way everybody should have looked, except for the fact that there was no metal. But okay, to the point where they in a realistic world, everybody would be topless, like places on Earth today in Dark Sun. But no, because they were trying to get away from the satanic panic and the moms against D&D, those freaking cunts. Um, they had to do stupid shit. Like where were they getting the fabric to weave these clothing, styles that if you look throughout Dark Sun, everybody's got clothes made out of fabric, not made out of animal skins, and invariably which would have been reptiles. Everybody's wearing snake skin, you know, loincloths. No, they just would have said screw it. You know what I mean? The slaves get nothing. Literally, they don't get, or even better, gore. Yeah, but they couldn't do that. If it was done today, they still wouldn't do it because Dark Sun would be filled by obese, pink-haired um, creatures, and nobody wants that. Gnomic Modesty Gourd is a good name for a progressive rock band. Gore is also a great name for a band, and the first two books of the series, the only ones I made it through, were nothing like what people say. I'm sure it got worse, but even at its worst, it's nothing like what's out there that has nothing to do with like a fantasy D&D world. So, um, DFC. Uh, actually, Lord of the Rings movies did it pretty well at not just copying one era or culture. The hobbits were more tricorn types in a very chainmail neighborhood. Right. Everyone at Dark Sunshine at Hot Topics. I don't even remember very well, but it wasn't. It should have been more John Carter and less um, Europe, or Arabian Nights. Because I mean, if the world's that freaking poor and that dry, clothing, full robes and shit would have been like the height of luxury, but at the same time, the most useless, unneeded thing when you're living in the cities because while they may be hot, they weren't going to be so sun scorched that everybody needed to cover up. They would have just made parasols or umbrellas or things like that, or literally just made roofs and awnings and things like that all over the place, so you wouldn't get burnt to shit. Matter of fact, I've got my Dark Sun book here. Let's take a little walk down Dark Sun memory lane, shall we? Here we go. Timber. Uh, cover. Yeah, he's got that big old like stupid apron thing on. When in reality, all he would need is a bra. Say, hey, I mean, look, right? If he's like his arms and shoulders, which should have been the things covered to protect him from the sun, but instead he's just protecting, you know, part of his fat ass belly and his nips. And if you tried to sell, dudes walking around in bras like this goofy looking shit, shoes, yeah, shorts, yeah, um, cape thing hanging down the back, pointless. That's a lot of wasted fabric. The girl there, yeah. Let's not cover the arms because they're Crusaders adopted pretty Arabic style clothing and fought as medium cavalry or Turcopoles because it was so damn hot. We have slaves to hold our parasols. Look, sack like Zardoz. Yeah, I mean, like that in that kind of heat and black. Yeah. No, if you're gonna wear dark, it's got to be loose, uh, fitting, and cover like everything, so that it keeps everything cool inside. Man, there's really not a lot of art in Dark Sun, is there? And this is just super freaking. Why? Why do you need to cover your thighs like that? I get the knees, but that's just dumb. Just make shorts, you know, instead of a freaking mankini there going on. Um, but yeah, I mean, I get they're trying to make something that doesn't look so much like anywhere else, but this one's pretty good. That makes more sense. Not a lot of wasted fabric, not a lot of wasted. But again, a black cloak. You'd think you'd want to go with like a yellow or um, white if you can do it. Um, just kind of. I get it because it's black and white. The nights can be cold, and that's why you have blankets or concubines. Just saying. For your information, no one of consequences has a cool new vid. Send me a link, or I'll forget. Um, I don't even know if I'm subscribed to him. Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, I just couldn't get into Dark Sun. I tried real hard. Some clothing is universal almost. Look how the shirt, jacket, and tie have persisted. I know the tie never ever made any sense. It was dangerous. It served no purpose other than to show how much money you were willing to waste on a useless item. Um, we could all use a concubine or two. I can't disagree. Only one for you. A lot of people are best that way. I think most of us are. It's fun to joke around, but trust me. The second and third and fourth one, it just causes more problems. So yeah, yep. It was a good song. Whatever happened to those guys? ZZ Top. I remember they hit it real big with like Eliminator, I think, and then they kind of just like disappeared as far as I remember. if they did anything past that. I know they had a couple uh, hits here and there prior to that, but I think that album had like three or four. If I was young and single, you can screw around. Yeah, you can. Okay. If they were best friends, hey, why would I complain? Yeah, that never works. That Vic, no one hates a woman more than another woman. Just saying. Um, it is just they are far worse to each other than we are to each other. I'm a crazy cat man. Every night when I sleep, I have a fur coat, whether I want it or not. Yeah, I'm allergic to cats. I got over a lot of allergies, but that was the one that I could not get over, like plants and all that stuff by exposure. Even when I had two cats, and both of them got pregnant at the same time, so I ended up with like 11 cats all over my freaking house until I got rid of all of them. Um, I still couldn't get over the allergies. And if I go into somebody's house and they've got a cat, the next 24 hours or more, my eyes are watering and I'm going to be blowing my nose like for like 24 hours straight and nothing I can do. I've tried, rinse and shit in my sinuses. I've tried everything. And it just nothing works but time or uh, a really, really strong allergy medicine. Well, studs can have a harem. Yeah. The only way that works is with absolute like uh, unacceptable levels of force and withholdings, and that's just you know not my thing. I miss my Maine Coon kitty cat. She was great to snuggle with in winter. I got my dog, and uh, he only does that during the winter when it's hot. He wants to be he wants to be petted, of course, but you know no snuggling, no squeezing, no hugging. That's the big one. Is like I will not tolerate an animal on my countertops, on my dinner table, on anything but the floor, and occasionally the couch or the bed if we want to play and snuggle and that sort of thing. But countertops, dinner table, no, no, get your filthy ass. Yeah, no. Never living with another cat lady. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, I that's it. Those two things. If they can evolve and be like, okay, we'll stay on the ground. They'll just keep giving us fish. Um, we'll stop shedding and leaving their particulates in the air where I'm going to. Uh, yeah, I don't know about that cow. I have never met one. And even then, it's going to be about the money, um, and the oldest profession and that sort of thing, um, or they don't have a choice, like in some countries, in which case um, they're just furniture. I lucked out for some reason. My cats have always been good and never jump on the countertops. Uh, that's good. That's good. But when you're not there, you can guarantee they are. They absolutely are all over your countertops. They're going through your mail, making long distance phone calls, the whole bit. Uh, my wife's culture is not used to cats, but she's shifted as she like both my cats. She misses them both now. One was killed, and the other I had to have. I'm sorry to hear that. Just because I'm not a fan doesn't mean that I don't recognize, everybody's love for their animals. Um, where's my mine's right over there. He's lately he's been unbelievably not needy so much, but just needing to be like near wherever I am. I go to the bathroom. He's sitting outside the door, wondering what I'm doing. I think he knows that it's getting to be that time where he's going to be shuffling off, and maybe if you knit them weighted boots, they will remain at floor level. Um, and then when they get those things off, they're going to shit in all your shoes, um, which is a weird. I mean, if I had a cat that did that, I would just it would end up at the pound within 30 minutes. I was like, I'm going to put my feet in there, you son of a bitch. You know, if I didn't just skin them and make new footwear out of the cat. I'm kidding, of course. Same thing with like they're both great pets, both given to me. I'm a cat person. They were better with me. That's the way Chewy was. He was with a family that didn't know how to treat animals and take care of them. And he's been a great pal. But he's getting old. He's more than 15 now, and he can still play and chase us around and do stuff like that. And he still gets excited, but he also spends most of the entire day asleep. He sleeps probably 20 hours a day now, and I couldn't be more jealous. I had a housemate who had a cat who was so friendly and relaxed. People tried to annoy him, but he just wanted to watch movies. If I wasn't allergic to them, I would most likely have one again. I want a dog that looks like a sea captain, and he invites his friends over to play cards. Um, I'm used to too many animals, though. We have 20 cats and 5 dogs at the ranch, plus cows and horses. That's freaking awesome, Cal. You are a lucky, lucky man. Um, horses are freaking awesome, but um, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up yesterday's video on making new creatures for the creature catalog, just new animals. There's a great. I don't know if you saw that video, James, but we're I'm trying to get people to create make believe animals that aren't magical, that aren't supernatural, that aren't like overly psionic, just like mundane animals. Like uh, alternate world versions of dogs and cats, horses, pigs, sheep, cow, birds, fish, the whole bit, just so that we can make like a whole like at least 250 creatures of just mundane animals that make your world look different, so that everybody's not riding horses, everybody's not eating chickens and cows and pigs and goats, that there's other things to make your world seem not necessarily alien, but not Earth, but fantasy, or even sci-fi ish. Because the idea that every every planet looks like Canada and all the animals are identical. Vic Dakota's Grimoire of Darkness, I believe. He was talking about it the other day on the show. He's got a book full of like curses and awful shit to throw at your party because you hate them and you want to torment them while they're at your table. So he created a book, and as soon as he's done, he's going to come on the show and talk about it and tell everybody why they need it, just to have it on the table as sort of like I can open this book. I'm not gonna, but I could. Kind of a way to keep his rowdy children to behave. Yakapede, buffalo head, moves on tentacles. That sounds. I'd have to see it, and I'm kind of hoping that people will use AI to get the images, because I want them to look like photographs, so that when you see it, because we're all used to seeing, you know, real animals in real life. We've all seen a cow, maybe not up close, but we know what a cow looks like up here exactly. And trying to, like, if you just sketch a bird, that's weird looking, it's never going to register up here as like believable uh, beyond a certain point. It's still going to seem cartoony when we throw it into a world. But if we have like a book of 250 different animals that all look like photographs, people can kind of get more immersed uh, in the idea that these are just the native animals of such and such world. While there still may be dogs and cats, those are like literally the only things your planet can't live without for most players. If you say that the riding beasts are lizards and like by riding lizards and flying lizards, no one will ever be like, God, I wish your world had horses, except that one chick. Don't let her in your game. Um, they'll be like, okay, cool, no problem. There's dogs, there's cats. Just make them like green and purple, instead of browns and grays and whites and blacks. I think that would be fucking hysterical. Yeah, my cat, he's a blue and lavender sort of tiger striped cat. Okay, cool, right? That I mean, that would make your world seem right off the bat vastly different on a lot of little peripheral ways instead of it's filmed in Canada and oh look there's a squirrel, right? It's just like that it's not they didn't even try to make the world look alien, at least with Star Trek. I mean, at least with that in the original series they made these sets. You knew they were, but you could suspend your disbelief because the sky was bright red or blue or orange or green in the background, and the styrofoam terrain didn't look like natural rocks here on Earth because it wasn't. Um, just seeing the book should make your players perk up at the table, a visual reminder that evil is everywhere. Uh, Sea hounds, dog like and guild. I sent the link in Discord to you, Shadow. Thanks. Isn't a sea wolf an AD&D monster? Yes, but they're like a lycanthrope. Hold on, Bloodworth. I will let you in. Da, 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 da. Hey, what's
Hey,
up?
how's it going?
Just chilling. It's
I heard you
Friday.
talking about. So, do you want a pet in our Greyhawk campaign?
It's
Um,
possible. I hadn't even thought of
I
it.
do have the I do have the companions book. Um, let's, out of curiosity, let's see. Let's see what companions they do have for arcane thieves. If they are that specific. Let's see. Let's see. Where are they? Um, oh my gosh, where's my companion? Oh, there it is. Mystical companions. So let's see. Let's see if they have something for the arcane thief. I'm not sure if this came out the before the arcane, before the arcane thief or afterwards. Let's see. Now it doesn't look
Give him a
like
chipmunk.
it
Give him a chip. He says,
does.
"Give me a chipmunk." I would think that kind of a thing would either gravitate towards something like a cat,
Hmm.
or maybe even like a spider monkey, or something like a raven or a crow or a bat.
Yeah.
Something very highly mobile, so that it can get the hell out of the way, or
Right.
literally like get in the way. Um, like where with like fighters, you picture like a big, burly dog or something, you know what I mean, or a wolf. Uh,
Yeah, I would think it would. I would think that you would lean more towards, because you can use arcane magics. You would probably lean towards being either wizards familiars or illusionist
mhm.
familiars. If you,
That reminds me, I
yeah.
was I was wondering. I didn't see anywhere in the book
Mhm.
um, if they can use wands and wizard magic items,
I would assume that they can, to be
right?
honest with
I
you,
mean,
because I think any arcane, they would be able to use. So if it's for a wizard or an illusionist, yes. If it
Mhm.
is a clerical or a druidic,
Right,
no.
right. That goes kind of
Yeah,
without saying. It just seems
yeah.
perfectly natural that they would, but at the same time, I've said this before. I think the
Mhm.
character profession is incredibly powerful. I mean, incredibly powerful. It's got like double the hit points. It can wear freaking, some decent armor. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, you
Well,
find like studded leather or the bronze breastplate. That's like +5.
yeah,
That's, and if you found one of those, it was like +2 or 3.
yeah,
Holy crap! You're looking at
yeah,
like going toe to. Oh, and I can use a sword and a bow and cast
yeah. No,
spells.
no. It's
It's
almost
freaking powerful. It
it's
is
it's
really
it's the human version of a of
fighter magic user.
and yeah, fighter magic user, an elf, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
like the elf magi, basically it's like the human version of an elf magi. Just that you have to steal your magic and do it that way, and it's going to be a very very interesting um, class to see how it plays out. I mean,
Mhm.
the I just realized that when I was doing my video today, introducing the characters in this campaign to everybody, and there are 8 player characters, in
Mhm.
this thing, and like 4 of them are from the Adventurer's Backpack. So we
Mhm.
have the Elfet Magi, we have the Arcane Thief, we have the Pacer, and
Mhm.
we have the Warrior Priest, and all of them bring I think a uniqueness to the table that quite frankly we hadn't experienced before.
I
Nothing.
was explaining to somebody the other day, that particular the Arcane Thief, anyways, because I didn't read anything else from the Adventurer's Backpack because I kind
Right.
of don't want that information in my head because
Right.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's weird how when we got to when we were younger, we couldn't get enough info,
Right.
and as we get older, we're like, damn,
Yeah.
I wish I would have waited years to read that book. You know
Yeah.
what I
Well,
mean? Because it ruins it in a way. Don't worry, Shadow. My character can be your character's Fafford to your
yeah.
Mouser. Hey, that sounds actually kind of. I didn't even think about that, dude. That's
Yeah.
actually kind of freaking awesome. Especially like I know their fighty level, their you know BTH or whatever is not
Yeah.
great, but had I rolled a better stats and had I or if I come across even like a masterwork or pay for a
Mhm.
masterwork +2 um, longsword. Holy crap!
Yeah.
That
No, you
changes.
will. Yeah. You'll. Yeah. It's a pretty powerful class. I don't think that it is. I don't think it's overpowered. I don't think it's broken because
Well,
there are going to be some interesting um, with all 4 of those classes. I think it's going to be really interesting. You're going to have um, certain challenges that go along with playing that class, right? So your challenges is going to be that you are not very popular with other magic users, right?
mhm,
Particularly those that are associated with the magic using schools and such like that.
mhm,
Um, so that's number one. Number two, when you're stealing another magic user's magic, whether it be in mid casting or otherwise, or stealing something's essence, right?
mhm.
Whether it is to heal yourself or just stealing their abilities and everything. If they survived, and escaped somehow, they're going to be pretty pissed off at you, right? It's just like you know, it's like show me where the arcane thief touched you kind of thing. They're going to want revenge on you,
Yeah, yeah.
kind of thing. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then looking at the other classes, like the pacer, the pacer, the way that I'm treating the pacer is that it's not just an urban ranger, but the pacer is going to have some of the same abilities that a thief or an assassin has as far as navigating those lower district areas and not getting so easily confused by the distortion, the magical distortion that takes place in those background, those back alleyways and everything. And so those that are looking to hide from, hide their operations from, the outside world or whatever, are going to see a pacer as someone who poses a particular threat to them. All right, because they will be able to basically, not just track beings in a urban setting, but also find those kind of places as well. So that's going to be a really interesting thing. Um, the warrior priest basically has to remain, devoted to several different temples, and not all of the temples have the same, they don't have the same deity, obviously, but they don't have the same alignments. They don't have the same, so he has to be like the jack of all trades of a priest for multiple aligned temples. So that's going to be a really interesting thing for
I kind of picture the warrior priest the way you're describing him, like Benny from the movie The Mummy, but not a coward. The exact
right,
opposite,
right, yeah,
like a badass version of like Benny's badass older brother.
yeah,
The pacer I picture more like almost like a thief acrobat.
mhm,
You know,
yeah,
doing a lot of that parkour shit that
yeah,
bastard we dealt with had, you know, being able to, you know, climb and bounce off and, you
yeah,
know, maybe even tightrope walk, or if not tightrope walk, because that's like a really specialized skill. But if not that, like the what do they call it? Like using zip lines, you know, or having a
mhm,
device that they can use a zip line with. You know, maybe you know in the city there are, you know, maybe people have hooked up, you know, actual zip lines throughout, you know, from rooftop to rooftop, but there's no whatever the gadget is that allows you to slide down. Maybe
right, right,
some
right,
people Maybe some people
yeah,
actually carry their own. They go upstairs and then, you know, cross the street
yeah,
that way. That way, no one down on the ground level knows they're doing their thing. And the arcane thief I picture is, you know, some sort of like X-Men character, you know, just someone with a cursed mutant power, you know, like Rogue. Whenever she touches people, you know, she steals their memory and their powers.
right,
With the other guy, with the arcane thief, it's like uh, growing up, they accidentally absorbed people's magic and then didn't know what to do with it and became something of a nuisance.
right. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, each one brings something a little bit different than
What's
than
up,
your
Sean?
straight up
And I
core.
know Benny
Uh,
was a scoundrel, but
yeah,
just the way he, you know, he had every amulet, you know, for every religion, so that he could say, hey, yeah, yeah,
well,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. He was a scam artist. He used that
But
to be like a scam artist.
but the
He was,
fact that he actually had them, it sort
yeah,
of gives you the impression that he'd done that before. And with the warrior priest, if they're, you know, adherents to multiple religions or pantheons, or at least familiar with them, or, you know, somewhat believe in them, then they would have the amulet or the religious symbol pretty handy to go, you know, so and so help me,
mm,
so and so help me, so and so, you know, protect me, etc. And in order to do that, you got to kind of have, you know, either the icon or the symbol, or, you know, maybe uh, just using your weapon because that's, you know, in tune with another god,
mm,
or your shield, you know, is in tune with another, you know, kind of like the prayer, you know, I forget what it's called, where you put the armor of faith on,
right,
you know, the breastplate, the helm, the you know, that whole thing, something akin to that, which you may even a smart player would try to adopt, you know, that whole uh, idea where you could, you know, kind of use your standard equipment as your holy symbol, just by, you know, getting it made. You know, like your shield's got this thing on it, your helm is this design, your sword or your hammer is that, and incorporate that into how you role play the character. Before combat, they see the bad guys. They start doing the spells or asking for the blessings and uh, the warm up for battle. Um,
Right.
like in you know what the SCA is, right?
The No, I don't know.
Okay, Society of Creative Anachronisms, where people
Okay.
dress up and fight each other like
Right.
for real, but with
Hmm.
rattan weapons instead of
Yeah.
and padding and all that. Well, in that organization, it's forbidden for you to, prior to a bout, do anything that would be akin to me, like taking my crucifix and like praying. You're not allowed to do that. Even if it's like a Thor's hammer or an owl or some
Hmm.
made up hokey religion from the old days that didn't survive. You can't do anything like that at all before a bout, or at least out here you were not allowed to do that because they literally thought, even in the modern day, before the match, that gave you an unfair advantage.
That's interesting.
Like imagine if
Yeah.
before a
Yeah.
boxing match, live TV, they instituted a rule you couldn't pray or before
Yeah.
your
It's like
fight.
it's weird. That's weird to me. It's like they apparently truly believe that it actually has an effect. Then you know what I'm saying, that it will change the thing. That's just a strange thing. Um,
Take care, Cal.
but yeah, take it easy, Cal.
And fun fact: Benny is in the new sequel. I'll be looking forward to that. Those movies were the best thing of his career, and absolutely, really good movies. I didn't like the Scorpion King, but I did watch the first two Mummies, and those are great.
Yeah.
Very inspirational for multiple genres, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do a lot of pulp stuff. Cool. I do a lot of
Yeah, that's a good
Egyptian.
pulp action thing. I mean, the first movie was certainly much better than the others. I think the third movie was not that great either. The one that set in China. Um,
Oh, I didn't even see that one. I
yeah,
thought Scorpion King was the third one.
maybe the second one was China. And then there were two Scorpion King ones, wasn't there? There was one when then there was the Scorpion King was um a side one, like a spin-off.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, there was a
I never
separate
liked Dwayne
Scorpion
Johnson,
King that
so
showed
I
like
I
the
stayed away from everything he ever did. I never
yeah.
liked him. He just seemed,
Hmm. So anyway, the last class that came from the Adventure Backpack is the Elf Magi, which is
mhm.
basically a throwback to D&D BX Racist class. Basically, it's a fighter elf, a fighter magic user elf.
Mhm.
Um, but even they have an interesting take on the way that they cast magic and everything. They don't have to. They just know the spells that they cast.
Mhm.
They're still limited how many they can cast per day, and they have to say, well, this is the spell I'm going to cast for the day, but they don't have spell books. They don't need the spell books. They can actually learn the spells that they have, and and they don't have to go back and restudy for those spells. Like I said, they can only have a certain number per day, but they're more of an innate spellcaster. If they know it, they can cast it. Basically, if they have enough uh, internal mana in order to cast it. Um, but anyway, I mean, I'm really excited about it. I will look into, like if you guys want to further flesh out your characters with mystical companions and everything. And the mystical companions, as I was just glancing through it, they don't all have to be, they don't all have to be creatures. Your companion could
What you
be,
talking about, Willis?
yeah, your companion could be an intelligent thingamabob. You know what I'm saying? It could be an intelligent dagger. It could be your companion could be something that is a totem. All right. that has some kind of some kind of a that you can have a connection to it in a way, so kind of leave this thing here and now I can see through it. You could have a marble that you roll down the street, and you can see through that marble as it rolls down the street, and then recall it back to you or whatever. So I think that there's a lot of things that you can
That's
do with just the concept of companions,
mhm.
but there is room for you to create, a companion that is not, um, just a creature, an animal based
Hmm.
companion. I mean, they have companions that are pure elementals. Um, yeah, as I was flipping through it, I came across something where it was like talking about objects as companions. So yeah, I don't see why like a an intelligent sword cannot be a companion, and you can do various things through, that object. So that might be cool. I mean,
Yeah,
that might be
I think that uh, at the bare minimums, people would have to go to an effort to acquire them.
Oh yeah, no,
But
there's rituals assigned. You know, there's one I saw it. Thinking of you as I was flipping through it, and it was like you could have a shadow companion. Imagine that. My companion is a shadow.
do the full Peter Pan thing. I
Yeah.
love it. That's
You know.
actually pretty.
So that's
Oh, that's fucking hysterical.
yeah.
Actually,
So there's
um,
a lot of really interesting things that we can do, and like I said, I'm really trying to make the city of Greyhawk be a truly magical, weird magical place, and things like that, become a possibility. So looking forward to it, and you know, saw your initial comments about companions or just pets or whatever you were talking about, and I was like, oh, I want to jump in on this. I want to see
yeah, we're
if
just
he's hankering for a pet.
no. What we're doing is we're trying to make okay. You know how every world in every
Oh
story
yeah, you're
ever,
talking about creating creatures. Yes.
yeah, just takes place in
Yeah.
Canada and everywhere has the same stuff.
Yeah.
I got to take this phone call,
Sure.
guys. Bloodworth, always a pleasure. Everybody else
All right.
out there, have
You have a
a
good one.
great
Take
weekend.
care.
Love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah.